Welcome back to the Wellness with Delaney podcast. Today I'm with Dylan Gemelli. He's a podcaster, biohacker, health expert, and we are going to get into so many ways that you can biohack your own health, wellness, hormones, and longevity. Dylan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I love it. I love chatting with other biohackers. Okay, so I always love to hear a good origin story. Can you tell me how you even got into the world of biohacking?
It's loaded. All right, I'll try to keep it short, but I always
Sure.
keep it honest and I keep it so people can see like a journey that you go on and why you do what you do and understand it. So, because I think it's important and people will like leave things out and not really touch on the important parts. So, I was a four-sport athlete in high school. I played college basketball and I got injured in college twice. So, I lost two scholarships at two different schools. And so I got into modeling and acting, which at the time wasn't like my idea of what I wanted to do. I'll be honest with you. I felt the modeling was going to be too kind of feminine for me. But then I convinced myself, oh, you're going to be at parties, girls, money, all of this, basically creating this lifestyle that really is different than what it actually is. So I went to a competition in New York. It was called IMTA. And, there's like 40, 50,000 people. I walked in there and I'm just like, really? Like what? Anyway, long story short, I got fourth runner up out of, I don't know, 10, 20,000 in my class. And I immediately got signed. And I believe it was like 5 months, I was right to Milan. So I went from 0 to 1 million right off the jump. But when you're there, it's a totally different lifestyle. It's wake up in the morning, go to your agency. When you're done, go to the gym. When you're done with that, you go party, and then you wake up and you do it all over. And the only difference on the weekends is that you don't go to the agency. So, I mean, minus that part out and just sleep a lot longer. So, and then I got into acting on top of that. So I had a lot of things going on. Like when I came back, the problem is it's hard to keep up with that lifestyle. You're not making a ton of money unless you're in like the top 2% that's got a huge campaign. And at the time, it was the big campaigns. At this time, there was a big Armani campaign, a big Calvin Klein campaign, higher end designers that we would know of. Anyway, I decided to start selling drugs while we were partying and using them to keep up. And if anybody does any research, there's not a long shelf life on people that are selling drugs. So of course I got in trouble. And I had done everything, I had given everything. I was raised so well. I just shamed beyond myself, everybody around me. I got a 15-year prison sentence at 27 years old. I got out of it and put on probation. But if you screw up on the probation, they can give you the full time. Well, judging by the trajectory I'm giving you and the jerk I kept screwing up. And they said, you just don't get it. So 28 years old, 15 years. So you can imagine the feeling and the just trauma going on mentally. The laws in the state were different. I ended up only doing 2 of those years and I got out and I was sent to Hawaii because my parents lived there. So, I went from losing everything, reduced to nothing, and then to Hawaii. But that's where everything changed. That's where I met my wife. That's where I started a whole new trajectory in what I was doing. And that's when I decided to rectify all of the things that I did wrong. And so that's when I started to really dial into the fitness and the bodybuilding and everything. And that became my passion. I got into bodybuilding forums and quickly the people that found me said, hey, we want to make something out of you. We're going to have you do all of these videos on YouTube and start talking about different things that no one will talk about. Well, one of them was steroids. And me, I'm like, wait a minute. I just got out of trouble. We found out as long as you're not selling them, you can talk about them. So I built my YouTube channel from 0 to 500,000 subscribers in 2 years, which on YouTube is not easy. Mm-hmm. And I built a backup channel with 500,000 subscribers. So I had 1 million people following in just a few years, from like just a nobody that just got out of prison to spending all of my time in research. I learned chemistry. I learned different aspects of how to formulate supplements. I learned supplemental combinations. I learned the business. This was all on my, all my own, doing my own time. And aside from, because I had to work on the side. So my YouTube channels got shut down. I had some competitors that did everything they could to shut it down. So I had to start from scratch. So you see the pattern here of starting from scratch. And I rebuilt another channel, another couple years, shut down again. So I decided to work on my Instagram, work on myself, get better at what I was doing, get more educated, built that strong. Well, that kind of culminated last year where I got to speak at the Mr. Olympia with doctors, MDs, practitioners on hormones, hormone optimization. So I'm the only influencer up there. I'm credentialed. I just don't have MD after my name. So that was like the big breakthrough for me. Well, I got invited to do that, but then at the same time, I was introduced to Monica Brandt, who was a former Miss Olympia. And so I co-hosted with her at that event too. Well, she was sponsored by STEM Regen, who is extremely well known in the biohacking community. I think they have to be one of the top 3% of companies everybody's heard of. They sponsor all the conventions. So I hit it off with them big time when I was there. Well, when I got home, I was all pumped up, like, okay, I know what I'm going to do. And I got COVID and I was just knocked down and knocked out. But in that time, instead of pouting and crying and all of that, like I normally had done when something goes wrong, I used that time. I gave my trust to God and just let him lead me. And I found biohacking and I studied it. And I said, you know what? And this was just in October. And I said, you know what? I finally figured out what I'm supposed to be doing here. And I just went full force. And ever since I did that, I mean, you can see where it's gone from there in the biohacking space. I've had some of the biggest names in the industry on my podcast, got to interact, and I'm so blessed to be able to talk to all these people. And I feel like showcase what I was supposed to be doing the whole time, in a lot more humble and directive manner and more factual, and be able to be more well-rounded. And just it's helped me to become a better person too, on top of what I'm doing. So it's been more than just, oh, I got into biohacking and, oh, I feel like I'm doing good. It was a lot of self-improvement and developing appreciation and time and not taking things for granted. And it's been more than just finding a career. It's been like finding myself at the same time. So that's the short of it. There's way more to it, but I don't want to go on.
No, I love that. I love a good origin story because I think that we often see the end result, right? I mean, there's no end result till we're dead, but like we often see someone's success and people sometimes forget that like the most successful people have gone through mud too. And I think that's such an inspiration to people, whatever stage they're at in their life, to know that the people they're looking up to didn't start successful. They started in the mud too, and they had to find their way. So I know you have so much to say about so many topics, and I cannot wait to dive in with you. Let's start at the very smallest, like micro topic. What role does mitochondria play in our longevity and in our health?
Everything. Okay, so and that's a point of emphasis for me right now, especially. So in short, all diseases that we have, they really start either in your cell membrane or your mitochondria, right? So mitochondrial health, amongst things that we do to trash it, it starts to decline. I would say more along the lines in your 30s, but let's just say 40s, okay? And so when those start to decline and the cell starts to die, I don't want to sound morbid, but we really start to die. I mean, we're not dying right now, but that's the trajectory down. When you say you can't defeat Father Time, well, it's a cellular problem. That's where it starts. Now you could say, I would say, and I've seen studies, 90 to 95% of it will start in a cell, and you could say the other 5% may be gut related. But generally speaking, your cancer, all the inflammation, all of these things, they're cellular problems. But the mitochondria is the whole powerhouse of your entire cell. So you could argue about certain parts being the most important of a cell, but the mitochondria generally is known as that. And that's just for anybody that doesn't know, just something very simple. I'm not going to get all scientific. The mitochondria is responsible for generating ATP, which is energy for cellular functioning. So it's found in almost all of the eukaryotic cells, which the cells with the nucleus, basically. Okay. So when you have the ability, which I have found and I'm sure you know this because I partner with Timeline, and the reason I partner with them is because of the urolithin A, their product Mitapure, which I've never seen anything that does what this does, because we're talking about stimulating mitophagy, which is repairing or regenerating mitochondria, which in turn, by doing so, that's going to allow us to mitigate disease problems, slow down age decline, think about things cognitively that we're working on to prevent or hopefully mitigate. Some people more prone to it than others, but this is, I hate to say fountain of youth because they don't want you to say that, but if you want me to say just in my terms, you could look at it like that, because it's slowing the aging process. Mitochondria is so important for our just whole long-term health. And you can trash it too by bad diet, bad, using drugs, alcohol, things like that. Of course, that's going to be contributing factors, but there are certain things that just happen when you age, but we can now prevent that by seeing how to stimulate mitophagy. And I think that once more people take a bigger focus and understanding on the importance of cellular health and start to look at the scientific side of things, then it's going to slow down a lot of the disease that we see that happen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think that sometimes we look on the outside and we forget something's happening on the inside. So I'm always trying to preach that, how our outward expression is the communication of what's going on in the cells, like inside the body. So I think that's really important. What are some lifestyle components that can help people support mitochondrial health?
A lot of people, and I think this goes without saying, is diet issues that they have. There's people just don't, I think the part of the problem is I think some people can't help themselves and they just don't care. But I think some people, because I can tell you this because I'm a nutritionist and how many people I talk to, and a lot of people that do what I do, they take for granted just because, it's my profession. I know this, that it's so obvious to everybody. I think some people just don't, actually, I know this is a fact. They just don't really understand or know what they're eating. And it's a lack of a lot of things. It's a lack of taking the time to learn and read, but there's a lot of bad information. It's easy to get manipulated. It's easy to be told this, is one way and be misled. I can get into all that, but, just in short, diet plays a huge role. I feel like if people had a better control on their diet, they exercise more. And I'm not saying you got to go out and run 20 miles a day. That's not what I'm saying at all. But getting out, getting your 10,000 steps, and you, I'm sure you notice, and a lot of people do, that's kind of that magic number they're talking about now where you want to be. And I do agree. I don't disagree with that. I think that's a good number to say, okay, let's try to hit that. But I think you should be doing more personally for a variety of reasons. But this is all beneficial to mitochondrial health. And sleep is one of those things we all just don't even look at or understand just how important it is to just every single facet of our health and well-being, but certainly for mitochondrial health. I think those are major factors, but I just had this conversation today with a doctor's son that I was trying to help, that I was talking to about alcohol. And I don't think that a lot of people understand just how bad just one drink is. I know it sounds like, oh, you're being a fear monger, but in reality, I'm the last dude that does that. I keep it as real as it gets. And I'm not kidding you. If there's a few things I could take back that I ingested or did, alcohol would be at the top of the list. It really would. It is so damaging in such a variety of ways, and it's terrible for mitochondrial health.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's been a big movement, especially in like the Gen Z. I'm seeing of people like going sober.
Yeah.
And I never would have expected that, but I love it. I love that it's becoming so popular. I would much rather at this point spend a ton of money on fancy water at a restaurant than on a fancy drink. I'm like, no, I want the good water. I want to feel good and glow. Okay. So with diet, I know you have a lot to say about it. And I know in the biohacking world, there are so many diets floating around. And I talk to people from every end of the spectrum. What do you subscribe to?
So, okay. And I'll touch on this. I've made no secret either. I've had my own eating issues my whole life. Even though I teach it and coach one way, I haven't followed it. And I will tell you what I prefer. However, everybody's different, and there's a lot of factors as a nutritionist that you have to look at person to person. So I don't just go, oh, this is the end all be all diet. But I can tell you what I found to be the most effective for most that I deal with. And that's just I'm saying I'm not asking about any conditions, or because you guarantee somebody will leave a comment, well, what about, and I'm like, this is just a general thing. So what I find to be more effective in all around, and this is based on blood panels, this is based on effective fat burning, utilizing fat over carbs in terms of what you're burning off, all of that, like I'm factoring all of that in. And I'm not against a keto diet by any stretch. I like lower carb, but I think that, and I feel that keto in itself is not sustainable for most. And I do subscribe to carbohydrates providing energy for the brain. I know that's a fact, and I know that's one of the only resources. So I don't like eliminating them. However, I don't like taking in too many of them. There are some people that thrive on that, but I find that long term, that might not be the healthiest solution. I know there'll be some people that don't agree with that, but this is a polarizing topic, so you can't win. One of the things that drives me insane that I fell for so many years was that misguidance on low-fat diets. I am the biggest proponent on the planet of healthy fats and getting plenty of them. I truly believe, and this is my structure, is like a 40%, 40%, 20%, 40% protein, 40% fat, 20% carbs, or even 45 fat, 40, protein, 15 carbs. I find that to be one, to give you so much more cognitive balance and energy that's clean and sustainable, and sharpness throughout the day. Two, I find that blood panels look extremely well on that. I always find more skewing in higher carbohydrate diet panels, whether it's one thing or the other being off. I find more things that fall in line with the diet I'm describing to you. Now, some people will overdo it with the protein, and you'll see a higher kidney value or liver value, for example. Body composition wise, body fat wise, sleep wise, I feel the diet that I just laid out to you is the best, as long as the fats are the right quality fats, grass-fed fats, things that are like avocados, for example. One of my superfoods, salmon. You're getting the right amount of omega-3s from the right resources, releasing CLAs, grass-fed butter, things that you may have been scared of before that you will find are so effective. And then with the carbs, some people do well with, sweet potatoes and rice. I'm in the lane, your body, you see if that does well for you or not. I like a lot of vegetables for carbohydrate use. I used to be a big oats fan, and I'm not so much anymore. I'm not saying you can't. And oh man, you start saying that, and some people, they like want to hang you.
I've been there. They want to hang me.
I mean, it's like they take it so personal. Like,
Yeah.
okay, if you have something to say about oats or oatmeal, you're literally like evil. I mean,
You can't go between people and their oatmeal, apparently. Or I call it bloatmeal, but that's just my stance.
I ate it for so many years, and I some of the guys that I really respect highly, they're happy, healthy guys. I'm not sure if you've heard of them or not, but they got on me. They're the first ones that got on me about the oats and said, just slow it down, or wean yourself off. And I understand now, after seeing it, and it's fine if it works for you, fine. It's not a big deal. You don't have to get upset. But I think I know there's a lot better sources of carbohydrates, good clean fruits. I'm not crazy on, like, don't go nuts, but berries, things low glycemic that will cause low glucose spikes, good, clean sugars. There's fruits that can be a little too much. You got to lay off. Strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, excellent sources. And then one of the other things too, like with the Greek yogurt, I do everything full fat now. One of the biggest mistakes, they strip everything out of low fat. It tastes terrible, and it's not nearly as good for you. And you're so much more full and feel so much better throughout the day. That makes your skin glow more. I could go on and on and on, but I am a big proponent of that type of diet I laid out for you. And the more, if you are going to have higher carbs, I will tell you this. Try to eat in an order where you've got a good plate that's got good amount of fats, protein, and your carbs, and eat the carbs last. Take the protein or the fats first, second, whatever you feel better. I prefer protein, fats, carbs. It doesn't matter, but eat them in that kind of order. I use SCT oil as opposed to MCT oil, so it's a short chain triglyceride. I've got some content coming out on that. It's a 6 carbon instead of 8 to 10. It's my secret weapon. It's literally my secret weapon throughout the day. But that's where I'm at. And then, not eating too late at night. I don't have an issue. Like, I have like a handful of walnuts or some Greek yogurt before bed to kind of help with the sleep, but it's minimal. I'm not saying have a big meal before bed or just fast, but yeah, I'm in that camp. Where are you at on your diet beliefs?
Yeah, we're kind of similar where I would say I'm eating probably like 75% animal based at this point.
Okay.
I'm not keto carnivore. However, like if I'm experiencing a lot of inflammation, then I will like dip into carnivore, right?
Yeah.
So the main things for me, so I used to be vegan. I actually this morning I was going for a walk and I said, Delaney, do not say you used to be vegan on this episode because I bring it up in every episode, but it's relevant. I was
It
like,
is.
can we go 1 week without saying I used to be vegan?
No, no,
But
no. Tell me. I want to
yeah,
hear.
so I used to be vegan. I was like your typical vegan hormonal birth control, like conventional,
Uh,
wrecked my body. So thyroid through the floor, right? Like no thyroid function, skin was a mess, hormones a mess, bloated, all the things. And so I slowly figured out, like I slowly, got rid of birth control, started eating meat and eggs and dairy, and then just totally swung. And so now I'm kind of in the place where I'm not eating the goitrogenic vegetables. So like really staying away from especially like kale and the Brussels sprouts, things like that.
yeah.
No raw spinach. So really, when I eat plants, it's very low toxin plants. I'm
Mhm.
on the like arugula, dates and butter kind of vibes. So that's really a lot of grass fed meat, a lot of cooking in grass fed tallow, butter every day. I've been doing that like really other than when I was vegan since I was a baby. I love my grass-fed butter and I eat so much. People are always like, "How are you not fat?" And I'm like, "Exactly." Like, yes. It's the eggs, the steak, the grass-fed butter. So that's really my diet. Very low sugar. If I do carbs, I kind of cycle them around my like my menstrual cycle. So on my period, I like to go like keto, more close to keto carnivore. And then around ovulation, I might be doing carbs because that's when I'm PRing in the gym as well. So I really, my diet changes throughout the month, but it's very whole foods. We're like very clean, low toxin plants only, and mostly animal based. I love my raw dairy, love my grass fed beef, like all of that.
So I have found animal based to be so important. I literally switched to beef protein isolate. I barely use whey. So here, since you just did that with your vegan and your issues, I'm going to tell you mine so we can see both how screwed up we were and then teach people how to change your mind over time. It is so easy to hear the word fat in a food and assume that it's going to make you fat. It is
Mm-hmm.
small, and it's easy to brainwash somebody on that because you got fat and fat, right? Okay. So I'm going to give you a little breakdown of my kind of workout that I do, and it's very excessive. So I'm not insinuating someone else should do this. I do 5 days a week, right about 100 minutes of cardio. I do 17 miles in the elliptical. I do a 2 mile run. I do about a 2 mile walk, and then I do another. I don't know how many thousand stairs I do. I think it's 2,000 stairs, and then oftentimes play pickleball too. And then I also do an hour of strong lifting. So if you look at my breakdown, I burn about 4,000 to 4,200 calories a day. So I'm always eating at a deficit because there ain't no way in hell I'm eating that much food. My body, though, I understand and know that as long as I eat a good amount, I can hold muscle. So for the longest time, I subscribed to that low fat nonsense. And I mean, up until October of this year, when everything I told you started changing for me. So you think about this. My wife's making me a pan of about 14 to 15 servings of vegetables a day. It's these three massive bowls of green peppers, onions, mushrooms, eggplant, and tomatoes and zucchini. And I'm just getting up every 30 minutes and snacking on that. The only fat that I'm eating is peanut butter. And I'm eating eggs, oatmeal, protein powder, raisins, and a protein bar. And that's it every day. I mean, I feel like dog crap every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a jerk. I'm testy. I've got a short fuse. I sleep bad. I'm never happy. This is going on for I don't know how many years, right? I went into the kitchen one day and I told my wife, I said, you know what? I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm not, if I gain weight, I know how to lose it. So let's just whatever. Because in my head, you got to understand the pressures of being a model, being on the camera, having all these people expect me to look one way. Then it's never good enough for them. I got to do it another way. So then I went from eating like 1,500 calories a day to now I'm up to about 2,700. And I haven't been this cut since I used steroids. Okay. And I haven't felt this good. I went from 15 grams of fat today to 125. and I went up. I'm doing about 2,700 calories a day. Some days a little more, some days a little less. Salmon every day, butter on salmon every day, olive oil, SCT oil. And then I alternate half a pound of either ground beef, venison, elk, or bison every day. And I eat like 135 grams of avocado, so I get a little over 200 calories worth. So I measure everything and I document everything. I went to Eudaimonia convention, and there was a guy there, and he had this device called the NOE, PONE, and they were measuring my breath, and he showed me. He's like, "Dude, you are chewing through fat." And then I got a Lumen. I tested every morning, and I thought, you know what, man, my body clearly needs it, and it'll eat right through it. And I'm telling you, I haven't been this fulfilled and happy, I don't think ever. And I'm so mad for the last 15 years that I've been depriving myself of all of this, but I never will again, ever.
Yeah. Well, and your brain's sitting in fat. Like people don't realize that eating healthy fats is so good for your brain, for babies, for development. I mean, for your hair, your skin, and it's energy. They really do think fat makes you fat. I'm like, no, like stop eating sugar, stop eating all these carbs and these processed foods and seed oils. It's also like, are you eating these PUFAs or are you eating grass-fed ghee and tallow and avocados and these like nourishing fats that your body craves? So it's like they're not all fats are equal. And so people definitely need to kind of realize that.
Just like carbs, they're not all equal. They're not all evil, but you have to be aware of them. And it's not like every piece of protein is good for you either. There's
Mhm.
garbage things out there that have high protein and all kinds of crap. And even protein powders that are full of sucralose and fillers and trash. So just because something says my favorite used to be the low carb. And just because it said low carb, everybody thought it was okay to eat it. It was just full of crap. And this calories in, calories out, and all calories are equal thing is another thing that just, excuse my language, just pisses me off to no end. I hate that so much. I always tell people, okay, let's just do this logically. I won't get mad. Let me just ask you a question. Take your left hand and your right hand. Okay. We're going to do 400 calories in each hand. You got one hand is a Big Mac. I think it's 400 or 450. I could be a little off. I'm not a McDonald's expert. So, and then in your other hand, so to get 450 calories, there's 120 calories or 110, depending on how lean of chicken you are. So 4, 8, 12, 16, a pound of chicken that you could eat for the same amount of calories. Now you want to tell me that this Big Mac is the equivalent to this pound of chicken. So, okay, we'll do the calories in, calories out. So maybe that you'll weigh the same, maybe if you burn the amount of, okay. You want to tell me that your blood panels are going to look the same. You want to tell me you're going to feel the same. You want to tell me all of this other stuff. So I just hate that to no end, because not all calories are even remotely close to equal, not even close. And that's how people get diabetic and they get other issues or other diseases, inflammation. You go eat all that garbage, candy bars, ice cream, and it's 2,000 calories a day, and eat a super clean meal and tell me who's going to develop disease and inflammation first and how.
Mhm.
Right, and have other organ failures and problems and mental problems and all this other crap. So sorry, calorie bros, but you couldn't be more just ignorant and ridiculous with that kind of comment. I'm sorry.
It's so true. I mean, food is information. It's fuel. It's the raw materials that builds our cells. It's not just like people. I think when you do that too, it almost builds this enmity with food. It's like, this is my limit. This is my quota. I can't pass this. Versus when we see food as like the opportunity to nourish our bodies, to build our bodies, it's like information for our DNA. It's just
Right.
such a different mindset. And okay, I know that for you, like mindset around food is a topic that you're passionate about, specifically overcoming disordered eating. I also know in the biohacking world specifically, the trajectory to orthorexia can be very, very slippery and very easy. So for the listeners who don't know what orthorexia is, it is that obsession with everything that goes into your mouth to the point of anxiety, right? And I've been there. I think when I started this overhaul in my life, I would be so anxious traveling or flying or being anywhere where I didn't have so much control. And that's just obviously one example, but there are so many eating disorders out there for people who are biohacking or not. So for you, can you share a little bit about like tips for people overcoming disordered mindsets when it comes to food?
Yeah, I think we see things that aren't there, okay, in terms of looking in the mirror and seeing these things. And then what happens? is you don't realize the stress you're causing and causing rises in cortisol and causing other things internally, which will then make you gain weight and you'll have an inability to lose weight. And then there's this, and I've been there, I get it, but there's this thinking that, oh, I'll just keep eating less and less and less or starving myself, without the understanding that you're ruining your metabolism and your body will eventually go into starvation mode and it'll latch on to everything and you're never going to lose weight, or you'll be skinny fat and you'll wonder why. You have to just try things and give them a chance. And you have to realize, just like what I told you, I thought, you know what? Let's just say I gain a couple pounds or I don't like it or it doesn't work. I know how to lose the weight back. It's not going to be there forever. It's not like it's the end of the world and you're going to gain 100 pounds. And just be in control and be aware, and be willing to try some things. I'm at the point now where, because like my wife would come in and be like, taste this. And I'd be like, in my head, like, oh, I can't do that because it's like 2 extra calories or whatever. Now I'm just like, whatever, shit, I'll try it. Let's just see. And if I don't like it, oh, I know I won't have it again. And if I do, fit it in, place it in, and see how your body responds. It's very simple, but enjoy it, because if you don't, and I used to always tell everybody, because I was so ignorant, well, you shouldn't live to eat. You should just eat to live, but you should enjoy it. You should enjoy it, because food is a way that we share times and, moments with people. And it's kind of a thing that people do to celebrate each other or just time together. And I don't like to eat out. You're not going to convince me on that, because I don't trust what's being cooked. But not having a bad relationship with food is very important, because just the dinners at home and the cooking together and the sharing or the discussions over food is fun. And, it's not easy, and it can be something that overtakes you. I feel like I lived in a dark hole for a really long time, really, and just escaped it now. And once I escaped it, it was like the biggest light that ever came on. And now I really like to talk about it and tell people my problems, and then also tell them, hey, somebody like me that struggled since I was 11 can overcome it. You can certainly overcome it. And so I think it's important that people that have problems to not hide it and to share it, so that it gives other people hope that are also hiding it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really give 1 ounce of a care if anybody says something about me or wants to make fun of me or whatever. It doesn't matter. I literally, if I lost sleep over that, I have my own issues. I care about the maybe even 1 or 2 people that hear that and it gives them some sort of hope, or it helps them to overcome some sort of problem. If you really like are that low to make fun of somebody or something over a problem, I mean, people, if you have to do that to make yourself feel better, so be it, go for it. But there are people that need this. And I think it's important to realize that every single person, million followers, athlete, movie star, whatever, dude, they go to bed, they look like crap when they get up, they brush their teeth in the morning. We all go through things. Just because you're made up or look a certain way or got a bunch of things going on, it means you're good at what you do. It doesn't mean anything else. You're not better than anybody. We're all the same, and we should help each other and use each other's talents, platforms, assets, and abilities, not be a jerk about it and act like you're better or that you're perfect, because it's just a facade and it just makes you look bad when you do something wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, we should absolutely normalize people, being authentic, but like being wrong, getting it right, learning, like that's the journey of life. And, platforms can be a way for us to put ourselves on a pedestal, or a way for us to help other people and bring people into the circle and help them like be inspired and not feel so alone. I think that's so much better than this, like the self-glorification, the self-perfection and everything. It's so common. I mean, I don't really know that many people who haven't struggled with disordered eating at some point. I mean, I've struggled with it. I was a dancer for 15 years, and everyone in the dance industry struggles with it at some point, it seems like. And it's so common, yet I feel like we don't talk about actually finding food freedom. I see women who've been struggling with this since they were kids. I know men do struggle with it as well. I don't obviously talk to them quite as much about it, but it's like this doom cycle. And how do they break that cycle of like self-hatred that kind of comes with it?
It's kind of person to person specific, really, because it's everybody deals with pain or things. But one of the things that you have to realize, you made a great point. Every single person at some point in their life has some sort of eating disorder. Now, is it a full blown, I need to go seek help type of thing? No. But if you even are looking in the mirror or saying, thinking negatively about yourself, and then, oh my gosh, should I eat that? That's part of an eating disorder. It's just not full blown. It's just like we all have had a mental health issue at some point, but it doesn't mean we need to seek treatment or help. But you have to understand, you have to be accepting of the fact that it is going to happen. So you just have to tell yourself that everything's going to be okay. You can't fall into this trap that, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world, or, if I eat this, it's going to ruin everything. I've been that guy forever. And I still, to a small extent, I'll go, oh man, I better not do that, or it could ruin my whole week. And I've realized now that's just not the case. It's just not. In fact, sometimes your body needs that little bit extra. I don't like the whole cheat meal thing. I don't like that at all. But I do like, to just say every once in a while, go ahead. Don't go crazy. It doesn't mean go have a large pepperoni pizza or a gallon of ice cream, but it means you could potentially have a bite or two of things, or, treat yourself here and there, or try some different things. Maybe have a little bit extra ground beef one day. It's not going to kill you. In fact, if you're hungry like that, your body's telling you something. Maybe you worked out a little bit heavier, or whatever the case, or something's missing that day. It's just like if you're extra thirsty, there's a reason. So go drink some more water. It doesn't mean go eat the house, but it means, okay, there's going to be some days where you're just not hungry at all. And you still need to try to make sure you get in your proper stuff. But if you're finding that there's a reason for that too. I just think that trying to develop a better relationship overall, just like if you are developing a relationship with a person, there's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days, right? Just like anything else. You just have to understand how to treat your mind. And once you can deal with your mind, then you can deal with that as well. The mind, I think, is the biggest problem for all of us in reality. It contributes to all of this. So everything comes together. And when another thing too, when you're more hormonally optimized, that helps too. It helps you have a better overall feeling about what you're doing. And when you have the right amount of sleep and all of that, you'll notice that you're handling your foods better. You're staying on the right cycle of eating when you're hungry and when you're not hungry, things like that. When you start having bad sleep, you'll notice if you don't sleep enough, you'll wake up really hungry and wonder why, or you'll have this want to eat more. So there's a lot of factors and lifestyle factors that play into that too.
Absolutely. I mean, hormones are big. They're huge. I know I'm even like for me, when I learned to understand my hormones as a woman, like my reproductive hormones, but also like my hunger hormones, my fullness hormones, my cortisol, all these things, it really was healing for my relationship with food.
Mhm.
Because if I'm like, oh, I'm extra hungry, oh, this is where I'm at in my cycle, that actually makes sense. My body needs these micronutrients, these macronutrients, it needs whatever, versus also eating for satiation. Like if I know that eating more protein and fat is going to help me become more leptin sensitive, so now I'm going to be like going for that stuff, and I'm more satiated more quickly because it's more biologically appropriate. So I think just learning your hormones and learning how to optimize is major. I also know you have a lot to say on that. So how does one optimize their hormones? Loaded question, I know.
It depends on a lot. First of all, I think one of the biggest problems, and one of the easiest solutions, is running the right blood panels. If you're reliant on a general practitioner to go run your blood panels, they're going to give you two things, and that's about it. They're going to give you a CBC and a CMP, so complete blood count and complete metabolic profile, which of course you need those, but that doesn't give me nearly any of the data that I need to properly assess you. So let's just say you do those basic panels, and then we add in a testosterone test for both men and women actually. And then it comes back, you have low testosterone. Well, if I don't have all of the data, then I don't know what's contributing to that. It's not just, oh, I have low testosterone and let's go get on TRT. No. And I'm just using that as an example. There's a lot of problems that can come up, a thyroid problem. Well, do you ask if they're supplementing things like selenium or iodine? Are you making sure that that's properly done? Low SHBG, could there be a vitamin D deficiency? Are we checking for that? They're not checking for basic electrolyte panels. Like they don't do magnesium, they don't do prolactin for men, progesterone for women. I need a comprehensive cholesterol panel. I don't care just about your LDL, your HDL, and your triglycerides. I need to see your ApoB, your LP(a), your particle sizes, the things that are going to tell me if you're going to have a heart attack or not. Not telling you, oh, you're slightly over on your LDL, so statin you up. It's just, it's a big problem. So I need to see full panels, and I need to be able to analyze them. And then I like to look at micronutrient things too, and take a look at. So sometimes, like, I'll get an anomaly, and I can't figure out, well, why are they having liver problems, or why are they having this? Well, we got to dig deeper before we just start putting you on a bunch of medications, because FibroScan comes out okay, and we test, like things like everything's coming out okay, and it's like, what the hell's going on here? Well, there could be some sort of like oxidative stress, free radical damage. There could be like I've seen people with like high aluminum, high mercury. We're not testing for heavy metals and things like that. Parasite testing, like these are all things nobody ever tests, and these are all possibilities on what could be causing you problems, and it could avoid putting you on unnecessary medication that they like to put everybody on. So that's step one. Then we have to look at, like, okay, this is off, this is off, this is off. So then we got to analyze your diet. That's where it would start. Then we got to analyze your activity level. We got to analyze your family history. If your mom had one issue or your dad had one issue, and who it's coming from and why. And I mean, it's to just walk into a doctor, run a quick panel, and then have them tell you, oh, you're okay when your range is like this close to the edge, and the ranges now are so obscure depending on what lab you go to, and they change them, and they, it's all over the place. I have been in classes, and we have a really nice range of where you really should be. So, and you've seen this, it's like changing the data for optimal testosterone levels, it's like 900 to 200 now. It's like, dude, that's not optimal. 200 is not optimal. 300 is not optimal. You feel terrible. There's outliers that feel okay there, but that's not good. And so optimizing hormones starts with finding the right person to optimize them that actually knows what they're doing. And then change, it's normally going to come down to some lifestyle changes that seems to be the answer to everything, because it is. But it depends on finding the root cause of the problem, not just looking at a number and going, here's a medication. It's not how it works. It's not how it works if you want to optimize them. It's how it works if you want maybe a Band-Aid to a wound that's not actually helping, because a lot of these medications you can't take long-term. They're not meant to take long-term, or they're going to create several other problems. So it's a loaded question, because it's so dependent on each person, and it depends on who's actually doing it. So as long as you got the right person doing it, it could be a short process. It could be a long one. I had one this morning that had so many different angles of problem. Well, thyroid was off, but it was being caused by this, but that was being caused by something else. And it was like a 5-step process. My wife came home and she said, how's the call? And I said, here, I'm going to show you the triangle of problems here and what they're going. And then it's, well, if you address one, how's it going to affect the other one? And how's that one going to affect this one? So it's a one-step process. A lot of the things that I see are people try to do everything at once or in one shot, and they want it right now. And it's just, that's like thinking you're going to turn into Mr. Olympia overnight. It just doesn't happen. So, there's a lot that goes into it, and you have to be very careful and find the right people. And unfortunately, there's more bad than good when it comes to that. But there's some good people out there, some great people that know a hell of a lot more than I do, that I learn from. So I find, though, that when you need to understand, and this is not a diss, but when you go to a general practitioner, and AKA family doctor, general, it means something, right? It's not a specialty. It's a general, and they don't know a lot of the concepts that somebody that's a specialist does.
Yeah, having a good health team is so important, and getting that full lab panel can be so illuminating. If you don't have a good health team, it is really amazing. It can really help bring things away. I just got like a huge full panel done, and I have a brilliant naturopath, and she just sat with me for like an hour, and we went through everything, every little number, because she knows me. I'm like, okay, this might be good, but how do I make it perfect, right? And we went through all that, and it was so good. And then, okay, hot topic that I know you just mentioned, cholesterol. What's more important, quality or quantity?
Okay. So just this is why I've studied cholesterol so in depth now for the past 2 years. So I got a job with a doctor 2 years ago. I cut a video. The guy's name was the Anabolic Doc, and I made a video called "The Best Steroids to Look Good Naked." So he cuts this video on me because I have such a huge following, and he knew it would be a big thing between my name and the topic. Anyway, long story short, I wrote him an email because he was respectful in the video, and we started talking. He's like, "I want to hire you." I'm like, okay, sweet. So he hires me and he says, everybody that's on my team, I take care of them. And I want you to go get a calcium score on your heart. He said, I'm sure you're 0, knowing everything you do and whatever. And I said, all right, I'll go do it. Just, yeah, sure. I didn't complain. So I went and did it. And anybody listening, a calcium score basically is an indicator of the amount of plaque you may have in your arteries. A 0 score means that they're not detecting hard plaque, but you could have soft plaque, which is a problem. So it only gauges so much. Well, I went and my score was 120 something. So I went into panic mode. Like, what the hell has happened here? So I did the deep diving because it can't be diet. It can't, you know what I mean? Like, it can't be all of these. Well, I had an LP(a) problem, which is something that you inherit and it can't be controlled by diet or activity. And what it does is these little small tiny particles get through and stick against your artery walls, and before you know it, it accumulates, and it can happen at a very young age. I caught it, thankfully enough. I had a CT angio done to where I have a 30-some% blockage, but we caught it, and now I've been put on the right medications, not statins, to help it. So my point with this is the important tests that I mentioned, ApoB and LP(a), are going to be the deciphering factors on what kind of problem you have. Now, draining your LDL, which a lot of these doctors want to do, it can cause like early onset Alzheimer's, and it's the cholesterol is such an important factor for our brain. And a lot of the foods, like eggs, for example, I had somebody tell me, "Oh, I eat a lot of eggs, so I'm sure my cholesterol is bad," but it's a different kind. That's not how it works. You don't want to be high, but you certainly don't want to be too low. Like the numbers can be skewed, but I believe like a good LDL in like the 70 range, 60, 70 is pretty damn good. You want your HDL close to that if you can too. It's not easy. Total cholesterol under 200 for sure, but you don't want to drain it and have it. They bottomed mine out to like 30, and I was like, dude, like what is going on here? What is happening? So it's not good long term. There's a fine line, but the point with the cholesterol is if you have a family problem, be aware, but have the right tests done. I need to see your particle sizes so I know what could possibly get through and what's not. Because the reason you see people die out of nowhere that are in great condition or shape is because what I just told you, they have a high LP(a), or they didn't realize their ApoB was off because the other numbers are fine. And some of it can be diet and exercise related, and some of it can have no bearing whatsoever. So it's a slippery slope, but you got to be careful. The whole saturated fat ruining cholesterol and causing problems, that's a bunch of BS. You and I both know that. You don't want to overdo it and just have everything under the sun and have bad. I'm talking quality saturated fat. You're fine. You start having the garbage that's processed and all, that's another story. But yeah, it's quality, definitely quality.
Good. Okay. Yeah. So I just found out, I was like, I have higher cholesterol, but my naturopath, she looked at the molecules. She was like, they're so fluffy and protective, and your numbers within that, like everything's so balanced and great. So nothing to be worried about. And I tell people this, and they're like, so one, A, shocked that I have high cholesterol, and B, they're shocked that I'm not worried about it. I'm like, well, we did. I mean, we looked at everything. We looked at those molecules. They're beautiful. And I'm not surprised. I'm eating steak every single day pretty much. So like, what do I expect? Steak and eggs, like every day. So yeah, like that does make sense for sure. Okay, so I do want to touch on peptides with you as well. So what are peptides and why do they matter?
Okay, so peptides essentially are just really amino acids. Okay, I mean, if you want me to be as simple as I can, it's a short string of like 2 to 50 amino acids, and I started learning about peptides in 2010 before anybody was even talking about them or knew about them or anything, but there was only a few that were out there. Peptides right now are like the best alternative medicine in a variety of manner, okay? Before there was really just, so GHRP is growth releasing hormone peptide and GHRH is growth releasing hormone, okay? So these are, instead of you going in and taking exogenous growth hormone, which is expensive and can have more side effects, these are stimulating the release from within. So instead of taking, like I said, exogenous, it's teaching your body to put it out there. So that's what mainly they were at first. Now there's thousands of them, and I mean thousands. And they go anywhere from mitochondrial and cellular function, which we talked about, which there's such good ones that stack so well with different things. MOTS-C, for example, is one of my favorites. SS31, phenomenal. But you could have something for hair loss, for sleep. There's epitalon, there's delta sleep-inducing peptide, for example. PT141 for erectile dysfunction. Melanotan will help you get a tan. I mean, it'll literally help you tan your skin when you take it. That's how it works. What else? I mean, there's just so many. Some of the most popular ones are the GLP ones that are out there now. So that's your Ozempic, your tirzepatide, your retatrutide. Those are going to be some of the most popular. There's some other alternative fat loss options. Tesofensine, for example, is one that's very good. AOD 9604, very good, very strong. And then I prefer something like tesamorelin, which will give you the ability to burn fat and gain lean muscle at the same time. And then the other most populars are going to be your healing peptides. So BPC 157, body protective compound, and TB500 or thymosin beta 1. These are going to help speed up the healing process in a pretty miraculous way in some instances, depending on the injury. So I would say I'm one of the biggest proponents on the planet. I'm actually getting ready. We're going to be opening our own Vitality clinic soon. We're in the final stages of that. I have certifications all over the place in terms of being a peptide coach and peptide expert or whatever they want to call it. I just feel like I know a lot about them because I'm passionate about them. But we could go down the list for days. It just depends on what angle you want to play. But I can tell you this. There's damn near something for everything, literally. And, GLP-1s are great for people with diabetes and, fixing glucose issues. And obviously the weight loss was not what they were really intended for. They found that out after, they kind of started using them in trials and studies. That was not why they were made, but it's a huge benefit and obviously what's made them so popular.
Absolutely. So with the GLP-1s, do you have a stance when it comes to like using it specifically for weight? Like, are you pro or against?
I'm pro GLP-1. I'm against the misuse and the way that people use them and abuse them and cause problems and don't understand them. That's the problem. There's a slew of benefits with these long-term at a microdose and using them properly. You got to understand something. Like, these aren't magic. They're signaling your brain to not be hungry so that you don't eat. But you can't just not eat forever. And if you're not eating properly on these, you're just going to degrade muscle. And I don't think people know what sarcopenia is and loss of muscle, but that's some fatal stuff if it happens, too bad and too long, especially as you age. The problem is people don't understand how to use them. They're mistold how to use them, and they have a misunderstanding, or they see some movie star or somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, abusing them and using them and losing a bunch of weight without understanding what goes along with them. There's a lot of study and me hands-on experience seeing people microdosing them, having better cognitive function, better cellular health, a slew of benefits that are there longer term with weight loss, but you have to eat an adequate amount of protein when you're using these, and there has to be a properly structured diet that you follow. And if you take too much, not only is the side effect side high, especially with people getting severe nausea and, just a complete lack of hunger and screwing up their metabolism. So it's the continuous amount of bad information and bad guidance that's the problem with them, not the compounds themselves. The compounds themselves are great. They're just not used right by a lot of people.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that anything that becomes so sensationalized and becomes the end all be all runs the risk of being abused. And I think we have really seen an abuse of it in the past several years. With that being said, peptides in general, like how do people get a hold of them?
Okay, so that's another tricky slope because you can only get so many at like a clinic, like I'm going to have our compounding pharmacy. So there's a market. It's that what I've been around for since 2011, and it's called the research chemical market. So when you go there, they have to abide by FDA laws, and it's a gray area. It's like very, very, very gray, meaning the products they're selling have to be labeled not for human consumption. So you look at that, you go to buy it, and you're like, okay, so what am I supposed to do here? And a lot of those places, they don't test their products. They don't have any like control on them. A lot of these places don't have regular buildings. They operate out of their house or, whatever, but there's some that are excellent. I happen to be privy to all that information because I've been around it forever. So I know where to recommend to go and where to not. And the places that actually run a real business with quality control and ones that you don't know what you're getting because they don't even test their products. Because look, if it's not being compounded in the United States now, every raw and every peptide comes from China. Now, there's some really good ones, but there's also people that don't test them, and you have to test them every time they come in because you just don't know. And so it's really an underground market, so to speak, but it's not illegal. It's some of those places have a hard time getting merchant accounts, so they have other payment methods, Bitcoin, e-checks, things like that. Some places are able to get around it with their credit card processing. But the place that I use is called peptidepro.io. I know their owners, I know their quality, and I've used it and see it, and I know how like stringent they are with their testing. So there's some good places out there, but if you can't get it from a clinic, which clinics can only get X amount and that's it, like a clinic should likely can't get retatrutide, for example, things like that. They're possible, but it's a slippery slope because it's still in a phase trial. So a lot of the options you have to go underground to get, or I hate to say underground, but research chemical, more or less.
That's good to know. And I'm glad that you have like the resources for the high quality because that can really be a barrier of entry for people when they're just learning that something exists, but it's so hard to know what's good and what's not good. Okay, so I kind of want to rapid fire throw some popular biohacks at you and see what you think. Like, are you a fan? Are you not a fan? What's up? So, what do you think of fasting?
I think people overdo it. I think there's definitely benefit there, but I think some people don't understand it, do it too long, too much, and have a counterproductive effect. I definitely think there's merit there. I especially think it's good to fast later in the evening and throughout the morning. Some people like to eat right away in the morning. I see merit there too, but I think it's good and bad. It depends on how it's being done. I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all, but I see people go crazy sometimes, and I don't think they realize what they're doing.
Okay, I'm kind of the same with that. I like you can absolutely overdo it. Okay,
Yeah.
cold plunging, what do you think?
I don't know, man. I just I have to laugh at that because you get these people they'll try to talk you into it, but I've seen some people claim their studies one way. I personally don't think it's necessary at all. I really don't. If you want to do it, cool. If it gives you a little burst or does something for you. I was doing that cold shower thing and doing that, and I was like, dude, this like okay, I'll try everything a little bit, but this is just not necessary. I think that if you feel like it's helping you, fine. I've seen some studies saying it's like actually bad and counterproductive for muscle growth, and I've seen some people claim it does all of this repair and all of this. I don't think it's necessary. It's not something on my list of things that are like, oh my gosh, you better go do this. If you want to, cool, but not for me.
That makes sense totally. Okay, what about organ meats?
Oh, I eat ancestral blends of everything. So I use Force of Nature meats, and I only get the elk doesn't have the added liver and heart in it, but I only get their ancestral blend, which is the heart and liver with their bison and their venison. I mean, right when we're done, that's what I'm having. Is is that? So I'm big on that because there's a lot of nutrient there. There's a lot of vitamin in there and things that we need. So I'm definitely for that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of organ meats lately. Okay, last one, red light therapy.
I like red light therapy. I'm very pro red light therapy. I have a red light here. I find it effective. I find there are a lot of merit there. Once again, some people stay under the red light too long or don't understand it or misuse it. If it's used right, and it's there, look, there's different products too. There's some that aren't really made with the right understanding of the right kind of lights to emit. And I don't have enough gauge on that. I know a couple owners that have just dove deep into the different types of rays and how they're proportionately supposed to be spread on you and how they're used. And those are the ones that I've used that I have. I have a Mitalux. I know the owner. He taught me a ton. Great dude. I'm not affiliated with him. I'm not pushing that. I just know the guy and I know he's great. And he has a ton of info. And I'm very pro if it's the right, the right component that you're using and you're doing the right amount of time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was so curious. I was like, okay, obviously you are a pro biohacker. You must know some more about some of these like really popular biohacks and most of the people we see on the internet. So I had to ask. And then I love to ask everyone before we close an episode, what is your wellness goal?
My wellness goal is to make sure that I'm like mitigating and eliminating as much problem now that could potentially show up so that I can in my 60s and 70s feel like I do right now. So my whole goal right now is keeping as optimal as I can, not taking anything for granted, not taking shortcuts, and dialing everything now to be as consistent as I can later so that not only am I feeling good, but I'm able to do what I do for everybody else and stay ahead of the curve and teach everybody how to live longer. So the wellness goal isn't just for me, it's for everybody.
I love that so much. That's a beautiful goal. So, Dylan, where can people find you?
I keep it pretty easy. All my social and everything is just at Dylan Gemelli, and then it's the Dylan Gemelli podcast on Apple, Spotify, all your favorite spots. And then my YouTube is Dylan Gemelli Biohacking. So there's tons of content everywhere. And then I'm right now in the process of redoing my website, which is dylangemelli.com. So in the next couple of weeks, that thing's going to be really sweet too. So that's everywhere.
Amazing. Well, I absolutely have loved this conversation with you. You guys, thank you so much for listening. And if you love this episode, make sure to share it, tag Dylan, tag myself, and let's get this word out there about biohacking, healthy living, overcoming disordered mindsets around eating, and more. Dylan, thank you so much for joining me today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I loved it.
Of course, likewise. You guys, thanks for listening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will chat soon.